So I am very happy to know that Krishnajyoti College is organizing a program like this. And I congratulate the entire team member, led by Dr. Anu and Dr. Matthew Emmanuel sir, for taking the initiative to instill the values as well as interest of research in the youngsters of various disciplines of academics, particularly in the area of commerce, management, and humanities. So the topic what is given to me, or in fact, I decided to put forward is regarding the designing, how to design the tool for data collection. So that is what the topic we decided for the day. So I hope, I'm very sure that for the last 2 days, you are discussing in detail, particularly, especially the resource persons, so-called resource persons, our beloved Tatil sir, as well as Kelvin sir. I'm very sure that they are very well experienced in research and allied area, and they deliberated in a detailed manner how you can initiate a research work, how you can proceed in that. So I hope that all the participants who are attending this workshop largely got understood what is research, what are the different forms of research, how we can do good research, how the research is contributing to the organization, to the society. So all these aspects are largely discussed by the former resource persons. So we are going to discuss a different topic which is largely connected with that. That is what I call it as the tool for data collection. So before that, I would like to get an idea from your side. No, in fact, if it is possible that you can speak, or otherwise you can definitely use the chat box. What are the topics discussed by the esteemed resource persons for the last 2 sessions? I mean, yesterday and day before yesterday. So today is the 3rd day, right? What is your understanding? What areas were covered? To what extent it got understood by you people regarding the broad theme of this 5-day national series of workshop on research methodology? I would like to get the feedback from your side. If any difficulty of speaking from your side, definitely you can use chat box. I welcome some of the responses from the participant side, please.
Sir, the first day actually the methodology part was discussed by Simon sir, and yesterday Dr. Kevin sir gone through the hypothesis testing and related aspect, etc. So this is the sub-2 themes we had undergone in the last 2 days.
Fine.
Okay, sir.
Fine, sir. Thank you so much. Now I would like to get the feedback of Emmanuel sir already mentioned, but sir mentioned regarding the broad areas what actually covered by the experts. Now, can somebody say, even you can even you can use chat box also, what are the various subtopics? Because definitely when you talk about hypothesis or when you talk about research design, various subtopics also discussed and deliberated by the esteemed speakers. Can somebody spell out what are the various subtopics deliberated by these 2 resource persons for the last 2 days? Please. You can use the chat box. The big limitation of an online program, hypothesis Anita ma'am is saying that hypothesis and testing. Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much. What else? What else? Please speak. No, please put your thoughts. Hypothesis format. Okay, Rimita is saying hypothesis format. Thank you, ma'am. So thank you so much. Silver is saying that funneling and ballooning model. Excellent, excellent. That is something very, very interesting. Aishwarya Mohan is saying about the method of sampling. Good. Another I is sampling. Very good. Rimita, categories of statistical tools we discussed. Fantastic. Anything else? Statistical inferences. Aishwarya Mohan is saying, thank you, ma'am. Very good, because that is very, very important in research. P-value. What is that? Can you share some more details regarding P-value? Statistical measures, Aishwarya. Thank you so much. P-value. Silver set. It is P-value. What is that P-value? Any idea? Okay, that is what is called as probability value. Anyway, we will get more.
Occurring by chance.
Yes, sir. Yes. Probability of chance of occurrence. Very good. Probability of chance of occurrence. Very good. Then how to frame hypothesis? Different methods like t-test, z-test. Okay, different methods of the tools also you discussed. Chi-square, ANOVA. Maybe you know some of the tests also. Significance of hypothesis and its format. Very good. Excellent. So you are largely got anything else to share? Fine. So that means categories of Praveena is saying categories of statistical tools. Okay, very good, fantastic. That means largely you got an understanding of research. So when you talk about research, level of significance testing, Matthew sir is saying level of significance testing. Very good, sir. Right. Our objective is to do good research. Now, how to do good research? The research is having a different significance. We can do research for the societal benefit. We can do the research for organizational benefit. We can use or we can do the research for national benefit. So in different areas, we can use research or we can do research. So a good research is always necessary for any kind of platform, whether it is society related, whether it is organizational related, whether it is industry related, whether it is national related, even whether it is globe related, or we can say world or international related. Now, when you talk about accounting, finance, HR, marketing, operations, sales, physics, chemistry, mathematics, and all those things are there. But research is very, very crucial, largely for the benefit of mankind. So right now we are actually in the mid of pandemic, COVID-19. Now, a lot of research is actually going on to save the mankind. So the development of various vaccines, whether it is Covishield or whether it is Covaxin, whether it is Sputnik, whatever it may be, of research. So whether it is for the benefit of mankind, whether it is for the development of an organization, whether it is for the development of the society, whether it is economic, sociology, all those things, humanities, all those things. Or when you talk about the global scenario, like export, import, like international business, cross-cultural management. So wherever you can see, you can understand the importance of research. And that is again the importance of good research. Now the big question mark in front of us is that what is that good research? What is that good research means? How we can define the term a good research? So I would like to get the feedback of our esteemed participants. What is a good research for you? How you can define a good research? Can somebody use the chat box and say how we can define a good research? Because I told you that good research is not just research, right? Good research is required for the community. Good research is required for the society. Good research is required for the country. Good research is required for the globe or for the world. Good research is required for accountancy. Good research is required for physics. Good research is required for management. Good research is required for sociology, right? And research is everywhere, whether it is in medical science, whether it is in physical science, whether it is in chemical science, whether it is in natural science, whether it is in humanities. So good research is required, right? So what is that good research? That is what my question was. Somebody replied it with an answer. So somebody said immediately solution to present problem. Very good, ma'am. Vidya Devi put like that. Contribute to new unknown thing, again by respected Emmanuel sir. Aishwarya Mohan is saying that the subject matter should be something practical. Excellent. Good is simple, precise, and research which is not copied. Very good, excellent. And useful for the society. Wonderful. Which is useful for the society as well as institution. Excellent. So what we are understanding from this? Silver is saying that good research must be true for universal population, novel concept. Excellent participants. According to me, good research is something which is novel and beneficial. Good research is replicable, reproducible, and transparent too. Yes, that is what a good research. So now we can understand what is the merit of a good research. So it must be precise, it must be benefited for the society, it must be true for a novel concept, it must be reproducible, it must be transparent, it must be largely beneficial for the people concerned. So when we are going to do the research, dear friends, even though the research is for the researcher, maybe we are doing research for even publishing a paper, maybe doing a master's program, maybe doing an MPhil program, or maybe doing a PhD program, or maybe doing as a consultancy work, whatever it may be, we have to do a good research. Now, all these things, what you mentioned right now, is a part of that good research. But we are having a thought process that how we can do a good research. That's the real question. How we can do a research which is transparent, which is beneficial for the society, which is precise, simple, which is largely looking for the responsibility and accountability of the persons concerned. So how we can do such kind of a noble work, because research is a noble work, right? That is what I personally feel. So there's a concept called as ethical research or research ethics in research. How you can do a noble or a good research which is largely benefiting for all the stakeholders concerned. That is what the real topic to be. How we can do a good research, which is contributing to the society. When you contribute to society, doesn't mean that you can just enrich the knowledge. That is not the ultimate aim or ultimate objective. It is just supporting the knowledge, or it is just accumulating the knowledge, and that knowledge is not having any purpose for the mankind. Dear friends, I don't find that there is any relevance for research. The research what we are doing supposed to be applicable for the society, for the organization, for the industry, for the country, for the world. So when we are going to do such kind of research, we can say that is a very good research. Now, how we can do a very good research? So that's the real question. So we have to, yesterday you came to know that, okay, what are the various how we can frame hypothesis, how we can frame objectives, how we can test that hypothesis, how we can understand. So those theoretical inferences we can say. But those things are all in the second level, I would like to say. Second level of good research, or the next level of good research. But what is the primary thing? What is the primary thing to say that this research is contributory, this research is significant, this research is really remarkable, wonderful, and contributing to the knowledge base as well as the problem for a specific issue. So when we are going to do a research like this, that will be a wonderful research, that will be an excellent research. So how we can do that? That is what we are largely going to discuss today. And in that, it is very, very necessary, very, very important, very, very necessary, very, very important, dear friends, that to collect the data in a very scientific manner. To collect the data in a very scientific and systematic manner. I'll come to that. What is that systematic and scientific manner? Now, we know that whenever we are going to do a research, there must be a problem. That now Silver now mentioned that we have to identify a problem. So when we are going to do a research, whether it is humanities, whether it is medicine related, whether it is organization related, whether it is economic related, whether it is sociological related, whatever it may be, there must be a problem in it. So if there is no problem, dear friends, there is no research. To find out the solution for a problem, we are doing a research. For finding the solution for a problem. Now I'm putting another question before starting my presentation by means of a PPT. I would like to get your feedback or understanding. What would be the real outcome of a research? Whether it is a solution or anything else. I hope you understood my question. My question is, what would be the outcome of a research? So I told you that there must be a problem. And that problem will be related to or largely related to an individual, largely related to a community, largely related to a society, largely related to an organization, largely related to a country, largely related to the globe as such, or different fields, what we are largely talking about. So what would be the outcome of a good research? To understand the end result to particular healthcare, betterment of humanity. Okay, Anita Roy is saying that. Very good. What would be the outcome? Contribution to the society. Very good. See, when we are going to do a research, every research must have an outcome, right? That outcome is a solution or an answer. I hope you understood my question. What would be the outcome of a research? Is it an answer or a solution? Solution to the problem. Very good. The commerce highlights, I don't know who is that, said that solution to the problem we are studying. Getting new knowledge and knowledge sharing. Excellent. Rightly said by commerce highlight, we are trying to find out the solution for a problem. When there's a question, there is an answer. But when there is a problem, there is a solution. So that is why we are in research, we call it as a research problem or a problem statement. And we are trying to find out the solution for it. And why we are finding out the solution? Why we are finding out the solution? The solution and answer are two extremes. Answer is specific. Solution varies. So when you are going to do a research, maybe you are going to take medical science or medical research. The accuracy, that is what you are going to discuss later on. So you heard about that level of significance and all those things. So 99.99 or 1% level of significance and 5% level of significance. So the accuracy what we are largely looking for is that much. So we are looking for a solution in a research. And what is the merit of a solution? The solution may change based on the environmental factors. For example, I am going to conduct a study regarding the learning outcome during pandemic for PG students. If I am going to conduct a study in Kerala, I am going to get a result. I'm going to get there's a problem, right? That problem is actually how much effective was the classes or the learning process during pandemic by means of online training program or online classes. When we are going to take the same questionnaire, when we are going to use the same tool for data collection, the same objective, maybe the same hypothesis, in fact, when we are going to use in a different area, maybe in a different geographical location, we are going to get a different solution or a different findings. So what I'm trying to say is there is no specific answer for a research. We are trying to find out the best solution. So that is why the research is continuous. So whether it is related, whether the research is related to medical area, Right now, you can see that now the accuracy of this COVID vaccines, now it is 87% and 92%. Now, still it is not reached 100. So we are continuously doing research to make it more and more accurate regarding the success of that particular vaccine. So that is what I'm trying to say, is that we are trying to find out the best possible solution. Now, for getting that best possible solution, it is very, very necessary, dear friends, that we have to do the research in a very, very systematic and scientific manner. Now, in that case, we have to collect the data in a very systematic and scientific manner. And I'm not going into the definition of data and all, because you are largely aware about it. I'm not going into that basic detail, basic discussion. So what is our objective? We have to do a research which is largely solution oriented, right? In a very systematic, scientific, justifiable manner, by largely doing in an ethical manner, to find out the best possible solutions for that. That is our ultimate aim of doing a research. Whether it is social science research, whether it is physical research, whether it is natural research, or whether it is social science research. We have to find out the best solution. And for that, we have to collect the data in a very, very systematic manner. So let us understand how we can collect the data in a more systematic manner, and which is largely useful for our research. So that is what we are going to discuss today. Can you see my slides? Can somebody say? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Sorry. Fine. Let me. Okay, I put it on a full screen. So if somebody is having any problem to see it, please speak, right? So that I can understand that there's a problem at the other end, right? Fine. Now, what we are supposed to understand? First of all, we have to understand that when we are going to do a research, there is a social or organizational dilemma. So dilemma is a problem, right? There's a big question mark in front of the researcher to find out the solution for an existing problem. So that problem can be a society-based. For example, when you talk about the pandemic, that is society-related. When you talk about employee turnover, when you talk about employee commitment, when you talk about employee satisfaction, when you talk about customer satisfaction, when you talk about this finance and accounting related or non-performing assets, these are all organizational related. Or when you talk about TQM, total quality management, when you talk about Six Sigma, when you talk about customer delight, these are all organizational related dilemma. And on the other side, we are having social or society related dilemma. For these two things, or these two dilemma to solve it out, we can do research. And when we are going to do a research, definitely there must exist a research gap. So the research gap is the gap which is existing, which is not explored by any other experts in that particular domain area, which is actually a gray area for all of us. Maybe in the knowledge base or maybe in the knowledge area, that particular area is not explored. So that is why that research gap is existing. So we have to identify the research gap. So once we identify that, then we have to state the problem. So that is what is called as the research problem. I told you that if there is no problem, there is no scope of research. So we have to understand what is the problem existing in a social, organizational dilemma. Right? So that problem we have to identify. That problem and have to be stated in a problem statement. And once the problem is correctly identified, then we can decide what research design is to be applied. I am not going into the details of that because you already have an understanding, like, research design, exploratory, experimental, causal, different type of research designs are there. So we have to decide that what design is to be applied. Once we decided the design, it is very, very crucial that we have to frame our research objectives. Dear friends, when we are going to make the research objectives, we have to be very conscious. We have to be very careful because it must largely satisfy the research problem and the research gap we identified, which leads to the social organizational dilemma. So many times what we are happening is we are largely root out from the objectives, because objectives supposed to be connected with the problem identified, with the gap identified. So there's a close connection between the research gap, research problem, and research objectives. And once you set the research objectives, then you have to set the hypothesis. Hypothesis is an assumption. So why we require hypothesis? The purpose of hypothesis is that many times, or when we are going to continue research, there is a possibility, there can be a possibility that we may got diverted. So there can be a possibility because we are going to deal with large amount of data. So when there can be a possibility that we got diverted. So when we are going to frame hypothesis, we are largely able to make our study within that framework itself. So we have to make the hypothesis. So these are the three things we have to remember. I think we already discussed these things. After that, we have to think on the data collection tools, how we can collect the data, primary and secondary. And then we have to understand what kind of analysis we can apply. So there are different type of analysis. We can say that is descriptive analysis, inferential analysis, then correlation analysis, regression analysis, and finally we can basic analysis called as percentage analysis. So percentage, descriptive, inferential, correlational, and regression analysis we can largely apply. So the t-test, what yesterday what you understood, and right now somebody said t-test, z-test, chi-square, ANOVA, regression, correlation, all those things are doing the data analysis. And then you have to do the interpretation and then make the appropriate finding, largely satisfying your study, and make suitable recommendation. And then you have to prepare that as a report. So when you're going to prepare a report, please understand that that report writing is not for you. Somebody else is going to read that. Somebody else is going to benefit out of that. So when you are going to make that report, You have to see from the
Rajesh
third
sir.
person. Yeah.
Hello, Rajesh sir. Sorry for the
Yes, I
interruption. So you are still on the first slide, sir. You're not moving.
now it is.
Yeah, but you are still on the first slide, sir.
Now, which slide you can see right now?
First slide, designing tools for data collection and about your details.
No, the slides are not moving. Okay.
Yeah, now it's okay, sir. Yeah.
No, okay, fine. So I'm talking about the data collection tools and data analysis tools, data analysis and interpretation, findings and recommendations, report writing and presentation, right? So that is what we have to largely understand it. So this, we can say this is a sequence of doing a research. Fine. Now, what are the features of a good research? It originates with a question or a problem. So that is the first and foremost thing. So I told you that there must be a problem. A good research must always address a problem concerned. There must be a goal, a specific plan and procedure, guided by specific problem, question or hypothesis, critical assumptions, collection of data, interpretation of data, and cyclical in nature. Cyclical means it can be repeated. In every research, it is not a one-time activity. The research must have a capacity and capability to get it repeated for the benefit of the mankind. So a research is not the end. It is not one-time activity. We have to have a cyclical in nature. It can be repeated and with more sample or more appropriate tools for analysis and all. So it must largely get more and more accurate results in that. So that is what the features of or characteristics of good research. Now, when we talk about research, these are all the basic things. I am just discussing it to just get an understanding. My topic is actually the tool for data collection. I will come to that in another 2 to 3 minutes. So this is what, when you talk about qualitative and quantitative research, I think already discussed by the other resource persons. We can categorize the research into two, quantitative and qualitative. So the medical research is largely qualitative. Scientific research is largely qualitative. The research largely connected with organizations or HR, marketing, finance, we can say that is largely quantitative in nature. So these are how we can differentiate qualitative and quantitative. You can have an understanding from this. So you talk about the sample. So in the case of quantitative, we can use large sample and produce a generalized result. That is related to quantitative. So when I'm going to conduct a study, customer satisfaction of big bazaar customers, or employee commitment of employees in HLL. When I'm going to conduct a study like that, I can use a large sample, even to understand the societal problems. I can use a large sample to produce large or generalized result. But in the case of qualitative, largely it is focused on small sample. For example, somebody is going to conduct a study that 2 persons are there. That is a kind of qualitative research. We can say 2 persons are there. So 1 person is regularly smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, but doesn't have any problem with respect to heart or liver. Another person who always follow a good, nice living style, no junk food, no alcohol, no cigarettes, but got affected with heart disease or liver disease. So when we are going to conduct a study like this, particularly qualitative in nature, the sample is very, very small or very, very specific. It is largely happening in the natural setting itself. So that is what the major difference between the qualitative and quantitative research. The designs which we are largely using is descriptive and causal, and in the case of qualitative, it is exploratory. And exploratory research design, maybe you are aware that we are doing it for the first time. We are exploring it for the first time because we are not largely aware about what is the real solution of it. We are largely not aware about it. So we are doing it for the first time. So that is what is called as exploratory research. Now, this is another differentiation of qualitative and quantitative research. Now, come to our business. Now, what is the meaning of research tool? The research tool is supposed to be there to collect the data in a very, very meaningful manner, right? So, the instruments used for the purpose of data collection, which are measurable, evaluative, observable for data analysis and interpretation. It is constructed by the researcher according to the objectives. Yes. So we have to understand this. What is a research tool? We can say that can be a questionnaire. We can say that can be an interview schedule. We can say that can be an observation mechanism. We can say that can be a focus group discussion mode, whatever it may be. It must satisfy these three things. One, what is the purpose of data collection supposed to be satisfied? Every research tool, every tool of data collection must be measurable for data analysis and interpretation, and it must be constructed by the researcher according to the objectives. So when we are going to frame a questionnaire, when we are going to frame a tool for data collection, whether it is questionnaire, whether it is interview schedule, or any other mechanism, we have to be clearly understood what are the objectives of our research. Now, what are the various data collection tools? We can say it on a quantitative and qualitative mode, like quantitative online, face-to-face, phone, or central location intercept. I will discuss on detail. And qualitative largely on online forums, online communities, web surveys, group triad and diads, as well as in-depth interviews. So these are some of the mechanisms or some of the ways in which we can collect the data. Or 200 sample for your study, and you are going to use a questionnaire, so that we can say that is largely quantitative in nature. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when we are going to use face-to-face mode or telephonically, we are all largely collecting the data like that. So we are taking the number in that case. For example, 100, 200, 300, whether it is online by sending the questionnaire through Google form and all, or when I am going to contact the people on face and collecting the data, or when I'm going to call the persons personally, I'm having a set of phone numbers, a collection of phone numbers, and I'm going to call them and collecting the data, or I'm going to send mails for all of them, or I'm going to collect the data from a central location by collecting the participants, and the participants by meeting the participants. So in all these cases, I can use a quantitative data collection tool. Now, when I'm going to have a meeting, in that meeting, the experts are there, and experts are deliberating, discussing, debating on a particular issue, and I am writing down the points, what they are raising in that meeting, we can say that is largely qualitative. For example, I would like to conduct a study regarding the economic issues right now prevailing due to COVID-19. I can call a meeting of experts. Maybe I can call Emmanuel sir, I can call Dr. Anu, and I can call other experts. And I can put this topic to them. And I can be a silent partner in that discussion and let them discuss on it. And I'll jot down the points. So that is what largely called as a qualitative research data collection. So in that online community as well as any kind of group, triad and dyad. Triad means 3 and above. Dyad means 2. Even 2 persons are discussing each other. They are experts and I am silent partner and I am collecting the data. What they are saying is also qualitative in nature. And then we can go for in-depth interviews. So these are the 2 type of data collection tools which we are largely using. Online, face-to-face, phone, FedEx, which I already mentioned, right? In-depth interviews. Now, what do you mean by data collection? It is a structured and systematic process that is compiled on the basis of scientific knowledge to gather information needed, especially in the research objectives. So that is what is called as data collection. It's a process which is structured and systematic. It is not collecting the data like that. There is a structure for that. There is a systematic process for that. For the compilation of scientific knowledge to gather maximum information which is answering the research objectives. Now, what do you mean by that structure? That structure means a predefined format. So when you are going to make a questionnaire, it must have a predefined format. Easily shared and easily understandable. That is a structured format. And what is systematic process? It is continuous. It is connected. So one question, the first question and second question are largely connected to each other. The first question, second question, and third question are largely connected to each other. So it must be structured and systematic. It is not standing apart. That is compiled. It is compiled in a common platform or a common area on the basis of scientific knowledge, which gather through information, which is largely satisfying the research objectives. That is what is called as a data collection. So that, dear friends, data collection is not an easy job. Maybe we can say, or we will see that, okay, data collection, we can just prepare a questionnaire and just collect the data, and that is going to satisfy our objectives. No, it is not like that. There is a lot of strain and pain is to be taken when you are going to make a tool for data collection. So I remember when I was in Delhi, I developed the questionnaires, and I found that we can sell that questionnaire for money for various agencies. Because various agencies are there to buy your structured and scientific questionnaire, what you developed for doing a particular research. So that is having its own value. You can get money when you are going to make good, structured, evaluative, purposeful tool for data collection, which is largely satisfying your research objectives. So making a tool for data collection is not an easy job. It is essential element in the research phase. So without this data collection tool, we cannot do a research. Whether it is experimental, whether it is exploratory, whether it is causal, any kind of research, whether it is humanities, whether it is social science, whether it is medicine related, whether it is HR, whether it is marketing, whether it is finance, whether it is sales, operations, economics, sociology, whatever it may be, appropriate, scientific, systematically developed data collection tool is mandatory. Choosing the right instrument. Yes. What do you mean by that right instrument? Choosing the right instrument will enable us to gather the information that is able to answer the research objectives. There can be a big question mark in front of the researcher that whether I have to use a questionnaire, whether I have to use an interview schedule, or whether I have to use an observation mechanism to collect the data. So choosing the right instrument, that instrument can be 1, questionnaire, 2, observation mechanism, or 3, interview schedule, which is very, very essential to do the research in the right direction. For example, I am going to conduct a study. And this study is largely to understand which railway station is having highest number of passengers. I'm going to conduct a study like that. For example, in Trivandrum, there are, apart from Trivandrum Central, there is another station called as Calcutta. There is another station called as Veli. So I would like to know that which railway station is having large number of passengers, whether it is Veli or whether it is Calcutta. So for doing a research in this topic, if I am going to distribute a questionnaire, is not an appropriate way, right? So that is not a right instrument to select. So here what you have to do, we have to do a mechanism called as observation. So observation is the right tool for collecting the data here. So you have to go to Veli station on a particular timing, for example, 9 to 10. Based on your 5 senses, eyes, ears, right? You can understand. Maybe at the same time, you cannot at the 2 places at the same time, maybe in the next day, 9 to 10 o'clock, or you are going to visit Veli on Monday, 9 to 10. The next Monday, you can visit Calcutta 9 to 10 and see the number of passengers visiting or traveling from there. So like that, you can visit that place 2-3 times and largely come to understand, yes, Calcutta number of passengers as compared to Veli railway station. So how you understood this? This you used a mechanism or a tool that is what is called as observation. So it is very, very necessary, dear friends, to find out, to choose the right instrument for collecting the data. Another example. For example, somebody is going to collect data from a remote area regarding their lifestyle and all. We are going to conduct a study in a slum. So when you are going to conduct a study in a slum, if you are going to use a questionnaire by distributing the questionnaire, survey means by distributing the questionnaire in which we are telling the participants to fill it, may not work out. So there the people who are living in that slum area may not have proper education. They don't know how to read or write. Then how they can fill that questionnaire? By understanding the questions in that questionnaire. So it is not possible. So we have to use another tool there, that is what is called as interview schedule, to collect the data from there. If you are going to conduct a study in an organization on a particular topic, then you have to go to that company, distribute the questionnaire, because you will not get time, or they will not get the time to sit with you and give you interview. So what they will do, they will take the questionnaire and fill it off and then return to you. So it is very, very necessary, dear friends, to find out the right instrument to collect the data. I remember when I was a student of Rajagiri for my master's program, we conducted a study in the slum areas of Cochin. So the study was very, very sensitive, and the study was largely focused on AIDS patients in that particular slum area. So understand the vulnerability of that particular topic, right? So we were I was actually associated with the AIDS Control Society for conducting that study. So we were told to collect the data from 2-3 slums in Cochin city. So it is not possible that we can just go there and distribute a questionnaire by collecting the data regarding AIDS patient abroad. Definitely, when you go with a questionnaire like that to a slum area, definitely you will not come back with normal method, right? Definitely they will deal you. Like, you cannot go like that. So we have to have a different strategy there to collect the information. Maybe you have to have one-to-one discussion. For satisfying your research objectives. So what I am largely saying is that choosing the right instrument is very, very necessary to do a good research. So it is not collection instrument. The accuracy of the data will be determined from the ability of the researcher by compiling the data collection method. So that is what largely the benefit of that one is called as. So these are some of the data collection tools. So you can see that the tools like questionnaire, interview schedule, observation, scales, test, sociogram, sociometry, all these things are all largely using as tool for collecting the data. And when you are going to use the technique, we can have the written, oral, interview, face-to-face, telephonic, net, group, video, then observation, like diary, checklist, and logbook, like that is already there. Data sources, which we are already aware about, I am not going into the details of it. We will go for some discussion. So what are the things we have to keep in our mind? So when we go for observation, which is one mechanism of data collection, there are two ways of observation, or two methods of observation. The participant observation, that means you can be a participant and then collect the data. And second one is, you are not be a participant, you are be a silent partner and then collect the data. So that way you can, so participant by observing, by be a participant for that, as well as by non-participant by way that also we can collect the data. Interview, I already mentioned that, there are two type of interview. One is structured and the other one is unstructured. So in the case of structured interview, the questions are predefined. So you can prepare the questions So where we are going to use a structured interview, we have to understand that, or we have to make it out very clear. When you are going to conduct a study which is very, very specific, because you cannot ask any supplement questions, because supplement questions may lead to some other problem. So we are very, very conscious and very, very particular. Then in that case, we have to use a structured interview schedule. In the case of unstructured, you can ask supplementary questions and all, to supplement or nourish your research work. Now comes the questionnaire, right? The questionnaire is a written list of collection of questions and possible answers used to record the information from the respondent. That is, we already know that. Respondents must fill their own answers to questions according to the choices provided. So that is what a questionnaire means. So there is a set of questions. In that set of questions, the respondents are requested to choose the best one, what they feel. So that maybe, we can say there is a 5-point Likert scale, or we can say dichotomous scale like yes, no, or whatever it may be. They are actually answering the options. They are actually answering the choices. What is pertaining to that particular question? So for example, when you are going to conduct a customer satisfaction survey like this, so there's a scale like from 1 to 10. Like 1 is strongly disagree, 5 is disagree, and 10 is strongly agree. So you can collect the data in such a format to get the real understanding or real sense of the people concerned. So you can see the whole questions which are largely connected each other. So I am satisfied, customer, all those questions are largely connected with customer satisfaction. So it is very necessary that I earlier mentioned, I mentioned in the beginning, that the questions must be connected each other, the questions must be systematic and largely evaluative in nature. So when I'm going to have a question that I feel the products I purchased are delivered when promised, so it must be strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree, disagree, or strongly agree. So that value must be reflected when we are going to collect the data. This is another form of questionnaire, right? For example, it is actually called as strongly agree, disagree, undecided, agree, and strongly agree. So we can use that is called as a 5-point Likert scale. So Likert scale is more appropriate because it is going to. So when we are going to collect the data, we have to understand two things. One, we are collecting the attitude, we are understanding the attitude, we are evaluating the behavior. These two things we are using, particularly in the case of management, in the case of social science, in the case of humanities. We are understanding the attitude or we are understanding the behavior, right? So individual attitude or individual behavior, customer attitude, customer behavior, employee attitude, employee behavior, right? So that is largely we are conducting. So I am not talking about the secondary research. Secondary research is largely based on secondary data, whether it is finance, whether it is accounting, whether it is operations, which is largely connected with the secondary data. But when you talk about the primary data, we can collect the data in this format. Very important, dear friends, when we are going to make a questionnaire, it must be valid in nature. It must be reliable in nature. So what is called as validity? the validity means it must satisfy the objectives of the study. It must satisfy the objectives of the study. That's what is called as validity. So when a valid question should ask what it intended to ask. The questions also to be phrased in such a way that the respondent understand the objective of the question. So you can do a mechanism called pilot testing to understand the validity of your questionnaire. Pilot test, maybe you are largely aware that. That means pilot test means before administering the questionnaire, we are going to take a small group of respondents and distribute the questionnaire there and collect the data and understand that whether the respondents are really understanding the questions what we framed. That is what is called as a pilot study. So we have to check the validity of our questionnaire. So how we can check it out? There is content validity, there is expert validity. So different type of mechanisms are there. For example, whether we are largely satisfying the objectives and the topic, we can say that is content. The content is largely valid. So that is what is called as content validity. So you can give that to an expert to understand that it is expert that is validated by an expert. That is called as expert validity. So you can take the support of an expert, or you can satisfy the theory to see that the questions what you developed for collecting the data is valid or not. Second one is what is called as reliability. Reliability means you have to do the test and retest. When you are going to do the test and retest, you are largely going to get the consistency in the results. So when you are going to use the same questionnaire to the same respondent, maybe you are going to get an answer or a solution or the results largely not varying much. So that is what is called as reliability. So you can rely on what you can say, you can largely reliable on the answers or the solutions what you are generating out of that particular research. So your research tool or your questionnaire must be valid and reliable. So you can how we can define that? So in research there is a mechanism called as finding the Cronbach alpha. So Cronbach alpha can be computed maybe by using SPSS software. You can understand the Cronbach alpha. If the Cronbach alpha is more than 0.7. 0.7 means that 70% accuracy. You can say that that particular questionnaire is, you can say, reliable in nature. The reliability got evaluated. That is what is called as reliability. The reliability can be established by computing a value called as Cronbach alpha. That is in software, it is already there. If you are going to use SPSS for analyzing the data, it's already there. So you can use the reliability, or you can use manually. Also, you can compute the reliability of your questionnaire. So what I'm trying to say is the validity and reliability must be established. It must be interesting. That is very, 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 very necessary when you are going to make a questionnaire. Dear friends, it must be interesting. And what do you mean by interesting? It must be very precise, direct, simple, not complicated. So don't make two questions in same sentence by using and into that. Don't connect two questions by adding and into that. Make very simple, make very specific, direct, understandable, and evaluative in nature. Right? And it is supposed to be focused on the research objectives only. Right? You are having other objectives. Maybe you are having n number of things maybe in your mind, but that must not be there. A certain questionnaire must answer only the research questions. So you have to, when you are going to make 5 objectives, the 10 questions or 20 questions largely address that 5 objectives only. You are not supposed to go beyond that. So there is not supposed to be any beat on the bushes will be there when you are going to make a questionnaire. It must be very, very specific, research or objective oriented and evaluative in nature. So we have to be very careful when we are going to make that one. Secondary data, I am not going into that details because you are already aware about it. And what is the principle of constructing a good research tool? First of all, it must be attractive and very much appearing in nature. And what is that called as attractive? Attractive means it is very precise, very easily understood, very easily read it out, and very small and straight in nature. There is no jargons. We are not supposed to use any kind of jargons when we are going to make a tool for data collection. Whether it is questionnaire, whether it is interview schedule. So it is very, very attractive as well as very easy to understand. The tool must not be too long or too short. You are going to conduct a study and you are going to make only 5 questions or 6 questions. That is not an appropriate tool for data collection. And if you are going to use a tool which is having 50 questions or 100 questions, that is also not good for appropriate for data collection. So you must understand that the maximum time should be 25 to 30 minutes, not beyond that. So a too short questionnaire and a too long questionnaire is not good for a good research. The next one is very, very important. One question should not influence the other one. Even though the questions are largely connected, I told you that the questions must be connected. But one question should not influence the other. Every question must stand separately but connected each other. For example, when you are going to collect data regarding customer satisfaction. So are you what is the level of satisfaction of products here? So that is what you are going to try to understand from that particular research. The next question should be related to that, not related to customer loyalty, not related to customer preferences. So we must be very careful that the questions are largely connected, but should not influence the other question, because each question must be dealt separately, but largely connected. The question number 1 and then leads to second, 1 and 2 leads to third. So there must be a linkage like that. Keep in mind that the sequence or order of the question, that is what is called as the psychological order. That is what I said right now. Even though it is said that the one question should not influence the other, the psychological order must be there. And that is why we can see that when we are going to make a questionnaire, we are going to collect the demographic variables like age, gender, then designation, all those things, because we are going to make a psychological win, because that is going to create a rapport. Even though maybe that is useful for your analysis, may not useful, but directly asking the first question, you are going to make a psychological win. That is very, very important. And it must be very, very simple so that easily understood. It is clearly understood, easily understandable, and easily marked. Right? So you are going to make doubt in the mind. That is not a good tool for data collection. Questioning must be concise, complete, and definite. Every question must be concise. Every question must be complete, and every question must be definite. So you are not supposed to, I told you that the sentence must not be finished in mid-half. So you have to be very particular that you have to complete that in one sentence and definite also. So these are the criteria of good research: logical, empirical, systematic, significant, rigorous, unbiased, ethical, and clearly defined. You are largely aware about it. And finally, when we are going to do our data, our research, we have to be very, very careful that based on our tool of data collection, based on our data collected, based on that tool, we are proceeding with our data analysis. Because data analysis, whether it is hypothesis testing, whether it is interpretation of results, and all those things, inferences, all those things are largely linked with the proper data collection. And the proper data collection is possible only and only when we are going to use a proper scientific, systematic, developed tool for data collection. For example, for getting the data for hypothesis testing, if the collection of data is not in the right sense, the collection of data is not in the right direction, then there is no possibility of testing the hypothesis in the right manner. So it is very, very necessary. It is very, very necessary that we have to use an appropriate, rightly framed, rightly developed tool for data collection. And that is largely by means of these principles what I stated. Must be attractive, not too long, too short. One question should not influence the other one. It have a psychological order. It must be concise, complete, and definite. If we are able to develop a questionnaire or a tool for our data collection like this will be an excellent research. The research will lead to the satisfaction of the objectives, solution to the problem, maybe answer to your question, which is largely applicable maybe for the organization, for the society, or for the nation as such. So every research must have a focus like that. So when we are going to construct a tool for data collection, we must put a good effort, deep understanding of the theory, and proper understanding of construction of research tool is necessary for framing a good tool for data collection. So I hope that everyone, when we are going to do research, will largely try to satisfy these areas, these 5 principles, which we discussed right now when we are going to develop a tool for data collection. That is all from my side for the day. Any query we can discuss right now. I was a little hurry, the time is up to 7:15. So I was in a hurry. I was not in a hurry, but I was a little hurrying up so that I can finish it off time and go for discussion and all. Any query from your side, please raise it.
Thank you, sir, for that well-structured and effective session. Now it's time for your dear participants. If you have any queries to our beloved resource person, you are free to ask and to make this session interactive. You can also post the questions in the chat box. So if any, please.
So, dear friends, Dr. Anu, my good friend, know that. Okay. What is the difference between research outcome and research impact? Very good question. So, this question was, let me read out the name. The question was forwarded well, Lokeshwari Thadi. Okay, fine. The research impact, we can say that how much it is influencing the stakeholders. For example, I told you, when they are going to do research, it is having organizational impact, societal impact, or we can say global impact, right? So the impact means when they are going to do a research, the research what kind is largely focused or specialized with the researcher himself. For example, when I'm going to do a research, for example, I'll take the example of my PhD work. I did my doctorate in small scale enterprises in Delhi. So the research outcome is largely focused with me only. What is the outcome of my research, my major findings? But what is the research impact? When I submitted that report, because I submitted the project thesis work to the Ministry of Small Scale Enterprises, and that study was actually pertaining to the small scale enterprise operating HR issues in Delhi, right? That was my study. So I submitted that report to Ministry of Small Scale Enterprises. So when they are going to use the results of that study for the merit of small scale enterprises to sort out the problems of HR over there, that is what is called as research impact. So research outcome is for the researcher, and research impact is for the stakeholders. Okay, I will definitely share the PPT. Good evening, sir. How many questions should be there in a good questionnaire? Okay, sir. There is no specific answer for that. But I said that it is normally 15 to 25, not more than that. So why I said that 15 to 25, because I told you that the number of the duration of filling the questionnaire may be from 25 to 30. So we can give 1 minute for answering one question. Don't give too much time to think over it. Then there's a possibility that the person can change the thought. So when the person thought, understand it and mark it, right? And when you are going to use an interview, make very simple questions, which is not complicated, which is directed in nature, not indirective. So sometimes we have to use indirective questions, right? But largely use direct questions to get the right answers. And when there is anything hidden in that, use indirect questions in that. So that is the way, and that we can largely use when we are going to use an interview schedule. But in the case of a questionnaire, we have to use the direct questions itself. Sir, is Likert scale ordinal, Likert type scale ordinal or interval scale? Okay, that is actually asking by Pravina Krishnan. Okay, see, these two are Likert scale is actually, it's an ordinal scale, right? So what is that order? Ordinal means it is having an order, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? So there's an order got defined. So yeah, when you talk about interval, it comes under interval also, because what is that interval means? Interval is 1, right? But largely a Likert scale, largely we use 5-point Likert scale. It is largely coming under ordinal scale. No, it is not nominal. I hope you understood. Nominal largely belongs to demographic variable like gender, like experience. Wherever we are going to put the nomenclature, that is what is called as nomenclature. Wherever nomenclature is there, we are using nominal scale. So wherever order is defined, so what is that order? Order is what is called as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is an order they got defined. So there we are going to use Likert scale. Yes, Srilaga said that ordinal scale is the right answer. Yes, that is what I said. It is what is called as the ordinal scale. Sir, what is the difference between pre-test and pilot study? Okay, very good. See, when we are going to develop a questionnaire, we developed a questionnaire based on our objectives. We found out a problem. To sort out that particular problem, we are going to do the research. For doing that research, we need data. And that data can be primary data. And for primary data, we are going to use either questionnaire or we are using interview schedule. Now, where comes the pre-test and pilot test? Pilot study, in fact. You developed a questionnaire for collecting the data. Now, when we are going to select a small group, because you develop a questionnaire, you don't know whether you are going to get the right direction of your study or whether the research is going to satisfy the objectives. We don't know with that particular questionnaire. Then what you are going to do? You are going to take a small sample. That is called as a pilot group. Pilot means a small group. From that large set of sample, sample, you are aware that is a part of the population. So from that subset, you are going to take a small portion and you are going to distribute the questionnaire to understand whether the questions are in the right direction or not. So you are going to take a small area, a small set of respondents. That is what that small set of respondents is called as pilot. And there you are going to use the pre-test of your questionnaire. And what is the purpose of pre-test? Means the people are not understanding. Maybe some questions people are not understanding. When you are going to make the questionnaire, maybe you understand what actually it means, but maybe the respondents may not aware about it. So if there is any confusion, any doubt, any problem of clarity is there, that largely we understood from the pre-test and pilot study. That is the purpose of. So pre-test is actually, pilot is the area in which we are going to conduct the study, and pre-test is the initial test of our tool for data collection. Aishwari is asking that, sir, is there any characteristics for sample? See, we have to understand that we have to understand the characteristics of the sample. It is very necessary. Now, what is that characteristics? See, sample consists of, or sample having homogeneity and heterogeneity. And we have to understand what is homogeneity and what is heterogeneity. And that is again based on our objective and based on our study. See, homogeneity is also necessary to understand the nature of the, or to get a right direction or to get the right result. And what is homogeneity? When I'm going to conduct a study, that to understand the effectiveness of online teaching. So I can take a homogeneous group. And what is that homogeneous group? That homogeneous group can be largely for PG students. So that is homogeneity. But I can do the same thing in the case of heterogeneity also, because these online classes are happening in nursery schools, online classes are happening in high schools, online classes are happening in college level. So there I can apply the heterogeneity over there. So we have to understand the nature of sample, heterogeneity or homogeneity or both, when we are going to determine the sample. See, I hope it was informative. I don't know, because it is very challenging to take a session online, right, where the participants are not much participating, right? Even my good friend Dr. Anu and my mentor, like Dr. Emmanuel sir, they know that I always put lot of questions while conducting the sessions, but this platform is having its own limitation. I don't know whether I was largely justifiable to the responsibility assigned to me. Thank you so much.
It was a great session, sir.
Thank you so much,
sir. I hope we have cleared all your doubts. Next, as a token of love, Postgraduate Department of Commerce of KCMT like to share with you a certificate of appreciation. For that, I invite Dr. Anu Anthony, NAC and IQAC coordinator, to hand over the certificate to Dr. Rajesh. Ma'am, please.